Hey everyone, Mangu here, back with another Inktober video. Today's prompt is flowing. This is another one of those weird ones where it sounds like the prompt is doing something. Flowing was kind of strange because it's more of an action. Of course, I thought of a stream, and I'm trying to experiment and get out of my comfort zone, but I just kind of wasn't feeling the idea of doing a nature scene at the time. I ended up getting caught between long flowing hair and someone like flowing to music or feeling the flow of the music like a dance, and then I kind of just decided to do both. I decided to go with a girl in her pajamas, like jamming out to music in her room. I found I really like playing with perspective so far. I'm more familiar with perspective when it comes to drawing a character or a subject or a person in perspective. I'm not really that familiar with drawing a room or anything like that in perspective, so this is actually kind of my first time experimenting with that during this Inktober. And just with the little bit that I've experimented so far with this Inktober, I found that I like it. It's not as daunting as I thought it was going to be. I'm not necessarily good at it by any means, so don't get me wrong. I'm still very new at this, and I'm probably doing 1,000 different things wrong. But so far, I do enjoy it. I enjoy making the rooms, I enjoy planning out all the little details, and then actually drawing those little details. I think the background kind of becomes just as important as the character featured. I've said it before, but the little details can kind of expand on the character in ways that accessories or clothing that are actually on the character just might not be able to. Especially when you have characters who dress differently from the way that their hobbies would normally have them be typically or stereotypically outfitted. I actually had a little bit of trouble with the perspective on her desk. I think I made it a bit too small, so I just decided that it's probably like a student desk. You know, she's in college blowing off steam after a hard semester, which would kind of explain why there's so much just in this one corner. So this is her side of the dorm room, and it's just overflowing with things that make her happy and comfortable. So I tried to incorporate little details that pertain to that. And speaking of little details, I kind of cheated a bit here. There's this sheep plush on her bed that's just a bit more than inspired by Vesta from Animal Crossing. The other two plushes are supposed to be a bunny and a flan, but the bunny kind of ended up looking like a Chikorita with 2 leaves, which was unintentional. I didn't mean for it to look like a Pokemon. I figure this character likes comfort and soft things, and while not quite as deep as like her being able to flow to music or her hair flowing behind her, I thought of like the clouds flowing through the sky might kind of fit with this prompt's theme as well. So I tried to repeat some themes with the sky element and soft fluffy things. Originally I planned for the little statue on her shelf above her computer to be more detailed, but I had some issues making it look right as tiny as it was. So I ended up just turning it into a Chibi Usabel, which is one of my original characters, and I actually drew her for one of the prompts in Exhausted. I think that's day 7. She still looks a little weird, but I think it looks better this way, and I was able to work her in, so that's all good. Working on the illustration for this prompt made me realize just how much my art style has changed over the years. With her eyes closed, you almost can't tell that this is an anime style, at least to me. I go through phases with my art style even after all these years drawing, and it can be frustrating just striving to get something that looks consistent, but at the very least I hope I'm improving as an artist. It's kind of a strange realization, and I'm not exactly against my art style moving away from the more recognizable anime art style, but I just get frustrated with the idea that my style still hasn't stabilized after all these years of drawing. At the very least, I guess I just want it to stay recognizable, I suppose. I can be content with that. So I started inking this picture with the intention of using more blacks and blocking in more shadows because of my Copic marker situation. I think I might have gone a little overboard with it in some parts, but I kind of like it. That's kind of the problem with really detailed illustrations, right? You have more chances to mess it up. But I really like the contrast and the darker spots. It kind of makes the eye travel around the image. I actually haven't used ink like this in a while. I know I've been doing the Inktober thing for a few days now, but for this illustration I decided to put more blocks of ink instead of just hatching it out. And mainly this was because of the whole Copic marker situation with 2 of my markers dying out, but I remember doing this when I first started inking, and it was one of my favorite parts of inking. So when I have areas in an image that are blocked out and kind of close together, I like to make a line to remind myself to leave a gap between the 2 areas so they don't overlap and just disappear into the image, or disappear together and just look like one huge dark area. So I'll stop blocking in the ink at that line. So I know most people might just suggest using a white gel pen or acrylic paint or even white ink for this type of a situation to differentiate where these two blocked areas are connecting or overlapping in this case. But I find that sometimes the white gel pens are just not quite as opaque as I'd like, or I can't quite control the line weight as easily with a gel pen. If you use a brush pen or dip pen with white ink, or maybe even acrylic paint, you could probably control this quite a bit better. But I don't have those tools, and even if I did, I'd probably still do this as a precursor to whiting out those areas, even just to make sure that I don't forget where those areas are. And if you're blocking out areas in black, a good way to remember when you're inking is to make like a little X or some type of symbol that will stand out in the image so that you'll recognize it when it comes time to block in those inks. And that little tip came out of a how to draw manga book from almost maybe 22 years ago or so. This was before anime and manga had exploded in the States, so it ended up not even being translated, and I had to order the book from a Japanese bookstore in California, and they would pull stuff from Japan. I couldn't understand most of it, but it had a lot of visual aids, so I was actually able to glean quite a bit from it, surprisingly enough. But I hope you enjoyed this prompt. I really liked being able to block in inks again. I might incorporate it into more prompts in the future, even after I get the refills in. I had a lot of fun, and if anything, I'd actually like to get more comfortable with it, or just get more reacquainted with it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow with another doozy of a prompt. Cruel. Bye.